I don't know if you saw in the group folder, I linked, oh, we need to share that group folder with Katie. I linked like a worksheet and like my lesson plan in the folder so you can see it. No, hold on, let me share it with Katie. And so I'm doing the second grade lesson. I'm gonna do like addition problems. So I'll get on that just a minute.
You put it in the group, right?
Just pull it up real fast.
I just shared it with you, so it should come through your email, like the folder on Blackboard.
I just got it.
Blackboard.
So is it the Garson-Allison model?
Yeah, so one of them is the lesson plan, and then the other one, it says like worksheet in the title, and that's like a few story problems just to like go off of.
Oh, perfect.
And so the first thing I would do, you guys are gonna be second graders. I'm gonna kind of like have to talk about some of it and not just like direct teach because it's like interactive stuff and like stuff you have to like have that I can't like hand you through the computer. But so the first thing I would do is have like a couple students come up, and then you can see like the first word problem on the page is about nail polish. So I was gonna have like 2 students come up, and then I like have a bunch of nail polish, and I would like have it out, and then I would instruct the students that like as I'm reading the problem, so like the names in the problem are Ashley and Allison, which is just like me and my sister, but I would use names of students in the class. They're like connected to it and invested in it, and like it's a good way to introduce the concept of a word problem. And so I would have them like come up and I would read the problem aloud and have them follow along on the paper. So it says Allison has 3 bottles of nail polish. So then I would have like the student named Allison like take 3 bottles, and then it says Ashley gives her 2 more for her birthday. So I would have Ashley like take 2 and then hand them to Allison, and then it says how many bottles of nail polish does Allison have, and so they could see and count them up that there were 5. And then I would do it again and do the same problem but with the Cuisinart rods. I don't know if you guys have taken Math 157. Good old rods. And I could do it like on a dock cam, I was thinking, which obviously I don't have one. But and just have them like laid out and then read the problem again and have everybody like read it aloud together. And so Allison had 3, so and then add 2 more. So you like lay out 2 more, and then we could count up that there were 5. And then I would like talk about how we've done a lot of like addition and subtraction, and so like what kind of math like are we doing when we're doing this problem, and obviously it's addition. And then I would go through and have it on the board. I think it's backwards for you guys, huh? But and I would, so it's the same problem, it's on the worksheet, and so I would read through it with the students, and I would have them each like have a highlighter out, and I would go through and say like, hey, Allison has 3, so we can like circle the word 3 because we know that that's a number word, so we're gonna need that information. And then bottles of nail polish, and then Ashley gave her 2, which we know is a number word, and then more, we know, tells us that it's gonna be addition. And so then you can take what we wrote up there and write it down here. And then because we've been working on addition, we would know that 3 plus 2 is 5. And then so this would be like the ID stage where I show all the different means of doing it. And then the next thing I would do is have them break into like table partners. So they each like with the person next to them, like in groups of 2, could work on, and I would like separate the class into 3 sections and have them each work on one of these problems as a group, and explain that they could use their rods and or they could act it out with their partner, or they could go through and circle the words and do it like I did on the board. And then when I noticed, walk around and like monitor and help, and for students that aren't like super strong readers, I could read it aloud to them. And then we could, like after they have finished the problems, I would have like one group of students from each section that I had like split into like 30 problems. like could do it up on the board and explain their thinking to their peers and talk about kind of the process that they took to get to the answer and how they knew what to use and what numbers to use, and the important information. And then for you do stage, I would have them break up in around the classroom. I would have different questions, like the ones on the worksheet. So I would do like a station, like having nail polish and have little toys or markers, things that they can use to manipulate on their own. And then like act it out that way. And then I would have their rods out so they could do if they wanted to. And then also just have like sit at the table and work with a few students at a time, like problems and way. And then that and like choosing what was best for them and what mode of learning. And then I would call everyone back to come sit at their desk. I would hand out students.
Say, up on me. Hold on.
One thing that you've learned on your sticky note. And then ask them like if they want to share what they've learned to like share it with the class, but if they don't have to. And then as they're walking out to recess or if I was like switching transitions, I would collect the sticky notes from them like individually. And then like that way I would know kind of like where we were at and like where we had grasped the concept of just kind of like an informal assessment, like checking in and seeing where they were learning and what they felt like they learned. And then like from that point I would know like, okay, like this is where I need to like put more work into, like where we need to revisit like certain topics where like nobody really seemed that confident, or like, okay, like we're ready to like build on this and like do different types of problems and not just like the add to kind.
Yeah.
And that's what I got.
I like it. That was really good.
Thank you.
I liked how much variety you had with that, like with you having the nail polish and increasing rods.
Thanks.
Yeah. There's definitely like multiple means for like someone to be able to understand it. Like you showed how to do it in multiple different ways, like showing kids that there's multiple ways that you can like solve this problem. Like if you can just look at the word problem and circle the things, that's fine. If you need rods in order to do it, that's fine. If you need a picture in order to do it, like that's fine. And I think that working for like a diverse group of students, like that's really helpful.
Thanks. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Like, okay, like if I was a kid, like what would I need to like grasp this concept? So I was trying to like grab at anything I could think of.
Yeah. Yeah. And I visuals included like formative assessment, like with your means of assessment is doing like a formative assessment and just like doing it quickly. And it's more to help you honestly, I'd like to know what you need to do better, which I liked that. I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, I think that like we watched, I forget what video it was. Somebody did that in their video. They were like, oh, it was like the math one when they were like counting the blocks in the bags like a few weeks ago. And she just like kind of checked in and was like, okay, like what did you learn today? And she like knew which kids she kind of wanted to pick on because she had been watching them. And so that I felt like doing it like on a sticky note is like a safer way for them to like share.
Yeah. I was like talking to my mom about formative assessment and I was like, how do you like do that in a classroom and like figure out how your kids, if they understood your lesson? And she was saying like exit tickets, to get out of class, to leave, like for recess, they have to write down what they understood from the lesson. And I think that's such a smart way.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And it's like safe because if they write down the wrong thing, you're not going to be like, oh, that's wrong. Like you're in trouble.
Yeah. Like you're just getting
like, let's cover those.
Yeah. I really like that. I mean, you covered like the I do, we do, you do. Like, I feel like you covered everything well, and explained well, like what you would want everyone to do, which I think that was good. And like having a worksheet, but also having it on the board was good.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to say that I can take notes for us this week.
Awesome.
In the thing.
Cool.
I guess now we can talk about like the flipped learning videos.
I freaking loved them. Can I just say that? Like, I'm like revolutionized for how I want to teach my classroom.
Like this is my favorite thing.
Literally like, so cool.
Yeah, I had never heard of it before this week. I was really like impressed and surprised.
Yeah, I think initially I was like kind of turned off from it. Like watching like the beginning of the videos, I was like, seriously, like that's so frustrating. You're making them learn before. But then thinking back to like, I remember when I was taking AP Calc senior year, I would get so frustrated because it was like a 90-minute class, and like an hour of the class we went over questions. And that was so frustrating because then we would get 30 minutes to do the lesson, and then we would have to go home, do the homework, not know the homework, come back, have an hour of questions because we didn't understand it. And I feel like this solves that.
Yeah, I was super judgmental of it at first. Like even in my notes, I was like, I don't know, like I'm not sure about this. Like I don't think kids are gonna learn it. Like I don't know how they're gonna be able to learn if they can't ask questions as they go. Like I was like really harsh. But then like I found a couple videos like of it like in practice in the classroom, and like teachers talking about like how much their classroom changed when they like switched it this way, and how much more they're learning, and like how much more engaged they are. And I was like, okay, maybe this is good. Like I changed my mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, flipped, I didn't hear about it either. I was shocked by it too. I was like, huh, that's an interesting style of teaching. It's actually cool because now teachers can be, like we said, more involved with the students and have the connection and know your students better. And then you can be more actually, without rushing the curriculum or that, you can kind of rush it, you know what I mean? Like you can rush it, but not because now you have more time. And if students, understand it, then you can move on so you don't wasting more time with some things that, students are like, oh, I get it, blah, 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 but you can keep trekking forward and know your pace, I guess, of teaching in that.
Yeah. One of the videos that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I feel like it would take up a lot of time making videos. Like you'd have two jobs, like to make videos and then make projects for the kids to do in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so like maybe if you did it like a couple years after you've been teaching, so like 1 year, like just video record like all of your lessons. And so like the following year, like make sure you teach the same grade, and then like maybe that would work over because then you wouldn't be doing two jobs.
Yeah, I don't know how like the logistics of it would work really.
Yeah, it would be pretty hard, but it would be less hard because I feel like you could just like knock it out like like there's not students there that you're like talking to, like you're just like going through the content.
Yeah, I guess it's like
just like every do it. I don't know.
Yeah,
it would be a lot of work.
One of the videos that I watched, it was like that's the same like two guys that we watched on some of the other ones, and it was like the overcoming common hurdles in the classroom. And I think it was cool because they really touched on like all of the things that people are like, well, like, oh, like all of like the cons of it. Like one of them was like access to content. Like what if you're in like a Title I school and 3 of your kids actually have technology at home? And they were saying then like just burn it to flash drives, burn it to CDs, like fill out some grants. Like there's things that you can do to get around it. And I liked that. And then they said like you have to teach your kids how to watch these videos. Like you can't go in the first week and expect them to know how to watch an educational video and like take notes and understand it. And I also really like because they said that to do 1 to 1.5 minutes per grade level. And like if you need to do multiple videos to get all the content, that's fine, but don't do a video that's longer than a minute or a minute and a half per grade. So if someone's in like 5th grade, like you need to stay within like the 5 to 10 minute range, which I thought was really cool because it's true. Like they're not going to be able to focus longer than that.
But like how would you get all the content that you need to teach them within 5 minutes?
Well, you can do multiple videos, but just like don't do like you said, like if you need to do 5-minute videos, that's fine. But just like keeping it like quick, like in a normal classroom, people say the same thing, that you need to switch things that match with like how quickly they're like, I think my mom said it once, it was like a minute and a minute and a half for their grade level, and then you need to switch activities or switch ideas or something like that. Like people can only stay tuned in to one idea or something like that for so long, and then you need to switch. And so like they were saying to do that with the same as videos. So like if you're trying to teach a math lesson and you know, you're doing like the add to, take from, compare, like all of that. Like you can do all of those in one like class, like module or whatever, but they all need to be like their own 5 to 10 minute videos and not like have an hour long one or people are going to check out.
Yeah. I feel like it would be a strategy at like an older grade level, because like if you're like, I watched one that was like a 7th grade math class, so they only teach math, so they were able to be like, okay, like this is the math lesson for tonight, and it's just like a quick, like you watch it, you can pause it and like go back, which I thought was like, that's probably my favorite part about it, is that like instead of like a kid having to ask a question and the teacher just like repeats themselves and like the rest of the class may not need you to repeat and like all that, like a student could just be like, okay, like I didn't understand that, and go back and like listen to it again and like take notes, or if they miss something, they can pause it and like finish taking their notes. And then they don't have to be embarrassed of like, oh, like I'm not understanding this and everyone else is.
Yeah, they can work at their own pace, which I think is why I really loved it. Like as someone that like is going into special ed, like it just like made me like hopeful for those kids in the classrooms that are like, they're in the gen ed classrooms because they're in inclusive classrooms, but they need a higher level of differentiation than the other kids. And like that completely puts that like whole like separation out of there. Like you're different. It helps differentiation so much. Like one of the other videos I watched was like a math teacher who said that like she was teaching to the middle. And so the kids at the bottom were not getting anything. And the kids at the top were bored. They weren't getting anything. But then once she flipped her classroom, like kids that were like faster learners were able to do it quickly, work at their own pace. But then students that needed, you know, to hear it a couple of times or slower or some ideas, like could rewatch the videos. And that she said like her test scores like completely went up because kids were engaged and they were interested. And then she could differentiate them in class based on that. It was cool.
I think I watched the same video as you.
Really? Was it the math teacher?
You have like chairs in the like in the video to like highlight like the middle class, middle portion, and then like circles around like the smaller portion, like the higher advanced kids, and like so the
I
same
liked
video.
that one. I thought it was cool.
I thought it was too, especially coming from like an actual teacher that's doing it now instead of just like reading about it.
Yeah, someone that's like actually like, this is how my classroom was and this is how it is. Like I'm not BSing you right now.
Yeah,
I actually do this. It's not just like a good idea. Like in practice, it's like useful.
Yeah.
in reality.
Yeah. I liked
also
it.
ended up watching a video describing exactly what the flip classroom was because I never heard of it before.
Yeah. Oh, I'd never even heard of it. I also like that it said, I took a little snippet when it said, one of the guys in like the flipped class video said it's that a classroom, like a typical classroom is a presentation station, not a center for learning. And like, you know, thinking about my classes, like you think about how the chairs are set up and it's all facing the board. And you think about, oh, we had like in a 90-minute class, we had probably 60 minutes of lecture and 30 minutes of like questions or maybe working on an activity or something like that. Like it's them standing up there lecturing, telling me information, and not a center for learning because there's so much research to prove that that's not how people learn.
Right.
And also, you can just do that at your house. Like, even if you weren't in school, like.
Yeah, I can watch Khan Academy all day.
Yeah.
It's
probably would be more interesting too.
Yeah, I liked that a lot, and that I feel like I made a note that goes along so well with the UDL guidelines of it being like student centered and not curriculum centered, because I think that again is showing like, okay, screw the curriculum, screw the norms. It doesn't matter like what my students need. Like their needs are like my like highest priority, and I feel like that like the flipped classroom really embraces that, which I think is cool.
Yeah, to not just be like, oh, like this is how I want to teach this, so this should work. Like they need to figure it out on what I'm explaining.
Yeah, like instead of, oh, this is easier for me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, like this is all about me. Like listen to me talk and then like do well on my test. And it's like, I don't care if you learn anything, just do my work.
Seriously. So, yeah, I agree. Cool.
Oh, and then I watched one that was like a high school English class, and she was like having them use like flipped learning for like working on an essay. And so they were like reading about like doing all like the research and stuff outside of class and then like coming to class and writing. And she was like, I want an outline for this essay. And so obviously, like to me, it makes sense that you write this outline first because it's going to help you write your essay. But if you want to write your outline last, like I really don't care. As long as you marks, like you can do them in whatever order you want and just like make it happen. And I thought that was really cool because it was like we're so used to like, okay, like do an outline, like do a brain map, do an outline, like write your intro, and it's just like so like concrete and there's not any freedom for like thinking. And so I thought it was cool that she was able to like make writing an essay, which is like so tedious, something that was like they had a lot of freedom in and like a lot of options with.
Yeah, I liked that. And like because my videos were very different, and so like one of the questions that she wanted us to think about was like how they like link together. And so I was like struggling thinking about that, but I mean I think it was like so in my face that I didn't realize it, that it's just like it's student centered. Like, you know, like yeah, there may be all these barriers to it, or like these things that we think may be bad ideas or things that might cause the issue, but like we make it work because the student is the highest need. And I think that both of those videos kind of like touched on that. Like, okay, yeah, it's going to be unfortunate for some people and it's going to be difficult and it may be harder, but like it's student need is your priority. Like that's your job, is like catering to your students' needs. And I think both of them like touched on that, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I feel like like the easiest route is what's best for your student. You can't just do what's like complacent for you.
Yeah. Well, for the flip class, sometimes, you know, it said like for the hard part about flip class is that some people, like we said, with no technology or something like that. I mean, they can, like we said, I mean, they can come to school and, you know, use their computer, or also at the same time, if they don't have anything, they can just stay after class, or teachers, since they have that availability time, they can have on, you know, a separate time for children to come in and ask questions, or do it then right there before class starts.
Yeah.
The only problem with that, though, is having them stay after class. A lot of kids have after school activities.
Yeah.
Their parents that can only pick them up at a specific time, or they need to catch the bus.
Yeah.
Then we wouldn't be catering to the technology needs of those kids.
Yeah. There was one kid in the video that I watched that his teacher put like all of the videos like on MP3 so that like he could even access it on like no matter what type of phone he had, and be able to like listen to it while he was like on the bus ride home from school. And so it wasn't like, yeah, he may not be able to like see the slides and stuff like that, but he could still hear the material, which I thought was neat. Like the teacher took the time to be able to burn it onto like multiple mediums. And they also said like maybe like rent out, like if your school has like laptops or like technology and stuff like that, like you can rent it out to students if you need to, which I thought was neat.
Yeah, and one of the videos I watched, it was like a math class, and they had like a bunch of iTouches, like old school ones, but they could like play videos. And so if a student like wasn't able to watch it at home for whatever reason, or if they just like didn't, like they could watch it in class like with headphones on, and like that way they were still able to like rewind and pause as they needed to, and just spend like the first chunk of class time, which like isn't totally flipped, but it still gives them the opportunity to like learn the same way and then like still spend like some of the class time doing the activity that everyone else is doing. And they weren't like punished for doing that, so it wasn't like, oh, like you didn't watch the video, like you're in trouble. So then like a kid who like didn't have a computer at home like wouldn't feel like, oh, like I'm like not doing my work because I can't, you know.
Yeah. And then probably the teacher would be more lenient on like, hey, feel free to email me or call me even if you're at home and you have a question. Like, you know, that's why you just like you fix your classroom to meet your students. If you have 2 students that don't have technology, and so half of the class they need to sit and watch the videos, and then they only get half of the class time to do the activity, then you change the activity for them, or you give them extra time to do the activity, or allow them to email you and call you to help them with the activity. Like you just change things up.
I guess they could also take the activity home in that case.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And if they have questions, just be like, feel free to ask me. I'll be there because I understand that your situation is different than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So were we supposed to come up with a lesson plan in which we would teach, like how we would teach if we were going to do our own flip classroom?
I don't think so.
We were just supposed to find video.
Talk about the and stuff.
We just watched the 2 and then summarized it. The lesson plan is like the lesson plan on either, what was it, ELA or math?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, there were like 3 different math standards you could choose from.
Okay, so it is math. Literally the way I was thinking of it was like the same way that you did yours. So now I'm going to rework mine so it doesn't look like I'm
the same thing.
I like looked at it and I was
like... So that's what I'm confused about. So when we do teach for you guys again, would that still be, will we still have those 3 math things? So each time it'd just be a different math problem, how we solve it through the different grades? Like we could choose different grades or like how does that?
You did yours, didn't you?
Yeah, but I mean, do we do another one or is that the only one chance?
I think we just do it once. Maybe we do an ELA one.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like another one in a later module, but if there is, I bet that it's like different standards that we choose from.
Okay.
Yeah. Because this is just math, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's what I thought. Yeah. Just math.
Yeah, there's a grade of 5th grade, and I think maybe like a high school one.
Yeah, I'm probably doing 2nd grade just because we just took 157, and so I'm like, oh, I know that stuff.
I was like, I
got it. Because I haven't done any teaching with my other group, so could I teach next week?
Yeah, I'm teaching too, so then we can just both do it next week.
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Cool. Did we all put our notes under this yet?
I'm gonna put my notes in tonight. I have it typed up and rough drafted. I want to edit it a little more.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. I'll put mine in tomorrow.
Okay, I'll copy the YouTube link to the notes, and then when everybody has their thing in, we can submit them.
Cool.
Sweet. Cool. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.